Sometimes the best movies are the ones that catch us off guard. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 movies that might surprise you in 2019. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're looking at movies that aren't quite on mainstream audiences' radars, or that are overshadowed by other titles, but that we think could exceed expectations.
Remember.
Number 10, Missing Link. Release date, April 12, 2019. In a year dominated by computer-animated sequels, we can count on Studio Laika to stand out from the rest of the crowd with this stop-motion adventure comedy.
You know, like Missing Link.
Wait, I don't get it.
Zach Galifianakis voices Mr. Link, a Yeti searching for his place in the world. Teaming up with an explorer voiced by Hugh Jackman, the hairy creature sets out to find his people.
Is it hot in here?
By all means, crack open the window.
Oh, that's better.
Along the way, he might just get his big foot in the door of high society. Chris Butler previously worked as a storyboard artist for Coraline, directed Paranorman, and co-wrote Kubo and the Two Strings. With his second directorial outing, we're expecting something akin to Smallfoot meets Wallace and Gromit. Missing Link may even be an early contender for the Best Animated Feature Oscar.
Shangri-La?
We call it.
What does it mean?
Keep out, we hate you. Number 9, Dumbo. Release date, March 29th, 2019. The new versions of Aladdin and The Lion King have soaked up most of the hype, but we have a feeling that Dumbo is the live-action Disney remake that's going to surprise audiences in 2019.
Welcome, baby Dumbo. We're all family here, no matter how small.
Whereas some Disney remakes have tried to replicate their animated counterparts verbatim, Dumbo seems like it's taking a different approach, with new characters and a unique art style. At its core, the story of a misfit elephant who uses his big ears to fly should remain intact. With a fresh set of eyes and ears, though, this familiar story may soar to new heights. Plus, you've got Danny DeVito playing a ringmaster in a Tim Burton film. Anybody who loves big fish has gotta appreciate that.
And the strange thing is there's not a sad face to be found. Everyone is just so glad to see you.
Number 8, Gemini Man. Release date, October 4th, 2019. The premise for this sci-fi film is a bit like Looper without time travel.
So I don't care what hobo sob story you got. I get a dozen a week, pal. It cuts no cash with me.
Will Smith plays a seasoned hitman being targeted by his younger clone, who's always one step ahead of him. Smith will reportedly play both versions of himself through de-aging techniques previously exemplified in films like The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
I enjoyed the show.
Two-time Academy Award winner Ang Lee is one of the most ambitious directors making movies today. Granted, sometimes Lee has proven too ambitious for his own good, as exemplified in his previous film Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. Gemini Man will hopefully be a return to form for the groundbreaking director, though, that lives up to his work in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Life of Pi.
I suppose in the end, the whole of life becomes an act of letting go. But what always hurts the most is not taking a moment to say goodbye.
Number 7, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Release date, November 22nd, 2019.
I want to tell you something.
What would you like to tell?
I like you.
I like you, my dear. Thank you very much for telling me that.
The 2018 documentary Won't You Be My Neighbor was infamously snubbed at the 91st Oscars. The Academy may make it up to Fred Rogers, however, by recognizing this biopic. Having previously played Sully Sullenberger, Richard Phillips, and Walt Disney, Tom Hanks has built up a reputation for portraying clean-cut American icons. So it was only a matter of time until he played everyone's favorite neighbor.
You see, I felt that the adults around me were pressuring me to be what I couldn't be yet. Act like a grown-up, I'd hear them say. Well, I was afraid they'd laugh at me when I tried.
Hanks is joined by primetime Emmy winner Matthew Rhys, playing a skeptical journalist whose worldview is changed thanks to Mr. Rogers. With last year's Can You Ever Forgive Me, Marielle Heller became a director to watch, and her latest film sounds like another fascinating true story. In such dreary times, we could use a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Love is at the root of everything. All learning, all parenting, all relationships, love or the lack of it.
Number 6. Pet Sematary. Release date April 5th, 2019. It Chapter 2 isn't the only Stephen King adaptation coming out in 2019.
Wow. This whole place is ours?
I even got him to throw in a whole forest as a new backyard.
King's 1983 novel Pet Sematary was previously brought to the silver screen 30 years ago, earning a cult following over time. The second version stars Jason Clarke and Amy Seimetz as a married couple who move their family to Maine, where a strange graveyard is said to bring those buried there back from the dead.
Old town's been using this place for generations. Folks make a kind of ritual out of it.
John Lithgow seems tailor-made to play the mysterious neighbor who warns the family to stay away from the cemetery. When a loved one is resurrected, however, the family faces a fate worse than death. Just as a cat has 9 lives, this is a story that'll give audiences chills no matter how many times they hear it.
I know what you're thinking of doing. But they don't come back the same.
Daddy.
Number 5. Brightburn. Release date May 24th, 2019. People have mixed feelings about Zack Snyder's interpretation of Superman, with many arguing that the Man of Steel came off as more reckless than heroic. Imagine if Clark Kent explicitly used his powers for evil, though. Then you'd get something along the lines of Brightburn. Elizabeth Banks and David Denman star as a couple who adopt an alien child after he crash lands on Earth. Although they raise him to protect humankind, little Brandon Breyer is essentially Damien Thorne if you gave him Kryptonian abilities. Director David Yarvesky previously worked with producer James Gunn on the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Much like how those films flipped the sci-fi genre on its head, we imagine that Brightburn will do something similar for the basic Man of Steel origin story.
He may look like us. He's not like us.
Number 4. Knives Out. Release date November 27th, 2019. Although Rian Johnson divided audiences with The Last Jedi, his career is showing no signs of slowing down. If anything, it's only gaining momentum.
No, you're still holding on! Let go!
We're all well aware that Johnson is helming a new Star Wars trilogy, but fewer people likely know about this modern murder mystery he's both writing and directing. Johnson commands an all-star cast that includes Daniel Craig, Lakeith Stanfield, Jamie Lee Curtis, Chris Evans, Toni Collette, Michael Shannon, Ana de Armas, Catherine Langford, Don Johnson, and Christopher Plummer, among others. While little is known about the plot, the project has drawn comparisons to classic whodunits like Murder on the Orient Express and Clue. For anyone who loves a good mystery, this ensemble piece should definitely hit its target.
The gun is missing! Whoever's got the gun shot the girl! I shot her. You?
Number 3. Yesterday. Release date June 28, 2019.
This was my last gig. If it hasn't happened by now, it's like a miracle.
Miracles happen. The premise for this musical comedy has genius written all over it, which shouldn't come as a surprise when you have the director of Slumdog Millionaire and the writer of Love Actually on board. Newcomer Himesh Patel plays Jack Malik, a down-on-his-luck musician who wakes up from an accident to find that nobody else knows who the Beatles are.
Oh, I believe in yesterday.
When did you write that?
I didn't write it. Paul McCartney wrote it, the Beatles.
Who? With the rest of the world having no recollection of the Fab Four, Jack sets out to recreate their greatest hits and pass them off as his own. The immortal music of John, Paul, George, and Ringo has provided the basis for numerous films, although it's hard to think of one with a more original setup than this. Yesterday can't come soon enough.
Let me just give you this advice. Song title. Hey, Dude.
Hey Dude, are you sure?
Hey, dude.
It's so much better.
Number 2. Dr. Sleep. Release date November 8th, 2019. Over 3 decades after writing The Shining, Stephen King revisited the Torrance family in a sequel.
Danny's gone away, Mrs. Torrance.
This adaptation of King's 2013 novel will be directed by Mike Flanagan, who previously brought us The Haunting of Hill House, Ouija Origin of Evil, and Gerald's Game, the latter of which was also based on a Stephen King book.
Who are you?
Ewan McGregor plays a grown-up Danny Torrance, who inherits many of his father's demons.
It'll be interesting with Danny because, again, here he exists in the novel, so I have to try and get him right based on the novel and Stephen's writing and the fans of the book.
What remains unclear is if the film will take more inspiration from the original source material or from Stanley Kubrick's cinematic interpretation of The Shining, which King has frequently criticized. Either way, Dr. Sleep should be anything but dull.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how fans of the movie take it versus fans of the novel, and if we can please everybody, we'll see.
Or if you do it exactly to the book and Stephen King's still like, nah, I don't like it either. Yeah.
Before we get to our top pick, here are some honorable mentions.
You'll never guess what happened. She disappeared. Bernadette. What?
She didn't just vanish. I'm gonna get my gear.
It's a story about journeys.
The journeys we take to prove ourselves.
It's about adventures. It's about potent magic. A magic beyond anything anyone has ever felt before.
Number 1. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Release date, August 9th, 2019. Audiences got their first glimpse of this horror film during Super Bowl 53, and the haunting imagery displayed has stuck with us ever since. Guillermo del Toro's name alone is enough to pique our interest. Having previously directed modern masterpieces like Pan's Labyrinth and the Best Picture winning The Shape of Water, we can't think of a more qualified visionary to bring Alvin Schwartz's book series to the big screen. While del Toro serves as a writer and producer, he hands directorial duties over to Andre Øvredal, who made the acclaimed Troll Hunter and The Autopsy of Jane Doe. We're anticipating a film that brings out the scared child in all of us, reminding audiences of a time when we were all afraid of the dark.
We're next.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.